Are you a current or aspiring cybersecurity professional looking to improve your analysis workflow? Or do you just want to learn some cool tricks in Notepad++? This tutorial has more than 20 tips and tricks that'll help you level up your skills in searching and manipulating text in Notepad++. Hi, my name is Sean Mitchell. I'm a cybersecurity professional and I have been for a few years now. My aim with this channel is to help level up other cybersecurity professionals for sharing some of the knowledge and experience that I've picked up over the years. Notepad++ has become an indispensable tool for me when searching and manipulating text, especially when I don't have any other option available to me. The techniques I'm going to show you today have been a part of my workflow for years and are still very much a part of what I do today. I know they'll help level you up regardless of your experience level. Some of the techniques I'm going to show you today can and probably should be used in other tools, but not everybody has access to those tools or is skilled in them. Also, it is best to be flexible with which tools you use because you never know when you're going to be stuck for options. In this video, I'm going to touch on some tasks that a SOC analyst is likely to perform during an incident and how Notepad++ can be used to do most of the dirty work for you. This is not a tutorial on how to do analysis. As you'll see, there are some steps that I've messed out completely, and the order in which I do them is not necessarily the order that I'd recommend or I'd personally do them. To start off with, I'll show you how you can set up your workspace, and then we'll run through some dummy alert triage, log analysis, malware analysis, and threat analysis tasks. There's a lot of information to take away from this tutorial, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on minute detail. So I recommend that you take some notes or bookmark this video for future reference. I have uploaded all the files that I've used in this video to my GitHub. The link is in the description. So let's get started. Of course, before you can use Notepad++, you need to download and install it. I won't be showing you how to do that now, but I have put a link in the description that you can use so you can install the latest version. I'm using the latest version at the time of filming, which is version 8.1.9.3. You can download this specific version even if it isn't the latest version when you're watching this. Once you begin installing, choose all the default options. If you already have Notepad++ installed and are using a different version, then there may be some differences in how you do what I'm going to show you. They should only be minor. You can update from within the application itself by hitting the question mark and then update. Now, the first thing that any self-respecting IT professional will do when using a new tool is enable dark mode if it has that feature. Fortunately, Notepad++ does, and there's some pretty cool ways you can customize it to your liking. To do this, you can go to Settings, Preferences, and Dark Mode, and then have a play around with the various settings. I like the green tint. You can also change the color of the text by going to Settings, Style Configurator, and select a theme that you like. I use B-Spin because it's easy on the eyes, but there are other good options. What you're also going to want to do is turn on word wrap. This will stop you from needing to scroll horizontally to read long lines of text. To enable word wrap, go to View and then click word wrap. Another important configuration change you need to make is to disable all clickable links. The last thing you want to do is to accidentally click a malicious link that you're analyzing and cause your machine to get compromised. To disable clickable links, go to Settings, Preferences, and select Cloud and Link, and then uncheck the enable box in the clickable link settings window. The last configuration setting is optional depending on how you want to use Notepad++. A lot of analysts use it as a temporary dumping ground for sensitive information during analysis, including things like credentials for various apps and tools that they use. It's not a great practice, but people still do it. By default, Notepad++ caches your work and the state is saved for the next time it's launched. This is very handy, but not very secure. If you do, or you think you'll likely use it that way, then you should prevent the app from backing up your sessions. You can do this by going to Settings, Preferences, and choose Backup. You'll need to uncheck the Remember Current Session for next launch box and the Enable Session, Snapshot, and Periodic Backup boxes. If you're like me and you don't store sensitive information, even temporarily, then you don't need to do this. There is a lot more customization that you can do within Notepad++, and I urge you to explore on your own. One feature which is very useful, but I won't be touching on, is installing plugins, but we will be using a built-in plugin. There are many third-party plugins that you can install which can automate a lot of the work for you. I do use a few myself, but that will be a topic for a different day. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see a video on that. Now that the workspace is ready, let's look at how Notepad++ can be leveraged during the alert triage process. Depending on your SOC, you may or may not have alerts coming in from a SIM into an IMS. In my mock example here, I have a Suricata IDS alert which was sent to a Splunk SIM, processed a little bit, and then it was in turn sent to the Hive IMS. Suricata alerts include a variety of detail, including the payload of the network event which triggered the alert. This is encoded in base 64, and fortunately Notepad++ has a built-in plugin called Mind Tools, which has a number of useful features including decoding and encoding base 64. But before we do this, the alert is in a CSV format which isn't the easiest to read, so let's clean this up quickly using find and replace to get each column onto a new line. To do that, we need to know which end of line characters the document has. In Windows, lines in text files terminate with a carriage return followed by a line feed character. Linux uses only a single line feed character. When moving files between the two operating systems, a conversion needs to take place, and later I'll show you how to convert from one to the other easily in Notepad++. You can view these end-of-line characters by going to View, Show Symbol, and selecting Show End of Line. Now to get each CSV column entry onto a new line, hit Ctrl F to bring up the Find dialog box, then select the Replace tab, ensure Extended is selected in the search mode, and in the Find What box, type a comma. In the Replace box, type \r\n. \r is the carriage return character, and \n is the line feed character. Now press Replace All. So that is much easier to read. Now we can decode the base 64 to see what the payload looks like. To do this, select the base 64 text, go to Plugins, Mind Tools, and select base 64 decode. This will decode the text in place, so you might want to back up the original text if you don't want to lose it. As an analyst, it's not always clear what's malicious in a payload, although if you're familiar with the Log4j vulnerability, which is prevalent at the time of filming, you'll see that this is a malicious payload. If you aren't sure though, you might want to check the Suricata signature to see what it was trying to detect. Fortunately, you can do a Google search from within Notepad++ very easily. Please note that the default browser and search engine will be used. To do that, select the text you want to search, go to Edit, choose On Selection, and Search on Internet. In my case, Chrome and Google is being used. I can see a snort signature in one of the results, and I can see that it came from the NCSE alert PDF, which details how to detect and mitigate against the Log4j vulnerability. Now I might want to take the signature and bring it back into Notepad++ where I can look at it more closely. Like the CSV file, it's not very easy to read, but like before, we can clean this up. The fields in the body of snort signatures are separated by semicolons, so let's put them onto new lines. Hit Ctrl F, hit the Replace tab, and enable extended search mode. In the Find What box, type a semicolon, and in the Replace box, type a semicolon, \r\n. Now hit Replace All. Again, that's much easier to read, but now there is some annoying white space at the beginning of some of the lines. We can clean that up by trimming it, so go to Edit, Blank Operations, and select Trim Leading and Trailing Space. Much better. At this point in your pseudo investigation, you might want to dig a bit deeper into what JNDI is. You could do a general internet search like we did before, but you might specifically want to know what Wikipedia says about it. So to do a Wikipedia search, highlight the text you want to search, select Run, and then choose Wikipedia search. You can also just press Alt F3 when you've got your text selected. Now that we have some good information about the alert, where it came from, why it fired, it would be a good time to start drafting the analysis write-up for when we eventually want to add it into our IMS tool. I usually just create a new file within Notepad++ by hitting Ctrl-N, which is my most commonly used shortcut. I can then start tracking what I found, where and when, as well as put any context around it. Depending on the analysis I'm doing, it's incredibly important to keep track of the time that I do certain actions, especially during forensic investigation. And Notepad++ makes this easy for us. You can insert timestamps. So go to Edit, Insert, and choose a date time that suits the context. So for this demonstration, let's pretend we've done enough of the initial triage of the alert and have decided it's now worth digging into it a bit deeper. Let's look at how Notepad++ can be used during a log analysis. In this example, we'll pass through an Apache access log to search for exploitation attempts. Remember, this is a cooked up example just to demonstrate the use of Notepad++. What you're going to see is not a real exploit attempt. From our previous analysis, we know that the letters J, N, D, I are part of the string that triggered the suricata alert, so we can try and search for all the instances of J and D, I in the Apache access log to find all the malicious requests. To do that, press Ctrl F and type JNDI into the Find What box. Then press Find All in Current Document, and it will find each line that contains the string. That's useful, but I would really like to get rid of all the irrelevant lines to make it easier to focus on what I care about. To do that, press Ctrl F again. This time select the Mark tab, then put JNDI in the Find What box, tick Bookmark Line, and press Mark All. Every line that contains JNDI will now have a blue bookmark to the left of it. To remove all lines other than these, go to Search, Bookmark, Remove Unmarked Lines. Then hit Clear All Marks to remove the bookmarks. So now I have only the malicious requests that I care to look at. I can now see the URI path for the GET requests, and there's a little bit of URL encoding, as you can see at the beginning and the end of each URI path. The percentage 7B and the percentage 7D. You guess it, Notepad++ can decode that. So select the text that you want to decode, then go to Plugins, MIME Tools, and select URL Decode. You can now see that the percentage 7B and the percentage 7D were replaced with open and closed curly braces respectively. What I might now want to do is extract the source IPs so I can search in other security tools for traffic to and from them, or for further processing. The best way to do that is using regular expressions, which Notepad++ can support. Note that this is not a lesson on regular expressions, so I'm not going to go into too much detail about how it works, but let me know in the comments if that is something that you'd like me to cover in the future. To pull out all the source IP addresses, which is the first column in each line in this log, using regular expressions, press Ctrl F, hit the Replace tab, and change the search mode to regular expression. Now in the Find What box, type the carré character, which is Shift 6 on my keyboard. This indicates the match must be at the beginning of the line. Then \D for a digit, and in curly braces, type 1, 3, meaning 1 to 3 of the preceding character. Then type / and a full stop to search for the full stop, or period as it is in the US. That will find the first octet of the IP address. So we'll need to repeat this another 3 times to get the other 3 octets. And at the end we'll leave off the / and full stop because we don't care to find any more after that. To test that it works, you can press Find Next a few times to see that it does actually get the matches that you want. I can see it's working for me, but ultimately we only want to be left with these IP addresses. So we'll need to replace each line with just the IP address. Again, back up the log file if you want to keep the data, because this is going to be a destructive edit. To isolate the IPs, we can create a capture group by putting our regular expression inside parentheses. It allows us to use the content of that group later. To ensure the regular expression now finds the rest of the line that we want to replace, we use the wildcard dot and then an asterisk. Another quick test should show that the regular expression is finding everything in the line. Now comes the magic. Put the results of the capture group, which is the IP in this case, in the replace box. \1 is the way to reference the first capture group. So we can type that in. Now hit replace all, and after some time you'll be left with only the IP addresses. A quick visual scan of the IPs in the list, I can see there are some duplicates. We don't want those in there. So we can remove those by going to Edit, Line Operations, and Remove Duplicate Lines. For argument's sake, I might now want to take these IPs, do a little bit more processing on a Linux machine. As mentioned earlier, Windows has carriage return and line feed at the end of the line, and Linux has just a line feed. I'm going to show them again so you can see the change taking place. To convert from the Windows format to the Linux format, go to Edit, EOL Conversion, and select Linux. And now you can see the end of line character is a line feed. Now, let's pretend that we managed to get hold of some malware that was being delivered with this exploitation attempt. Disclaimer. Please ensure that you handle malware safely and securely. This is not a primer on how to do malware analysis and shouldn't be treated as such. One of the first things I do when doing malware analysis is to look at the code if it's available to me. Often this will be in the form of VBA or PowerShell, sometimes Python or Bash. In this case, let's pretend we have a bit of VBA which is being delivered in an Office document. At the bottom of the screen, you can see the length of the file, which is the number of characters in it, including line endings, and the number of lines that it takes up. If you want to see more detail, go to View Summary, where you can see the number of words, when it was created, when it was last modified, the full file path, etc. So, looking at the code, I can see that most of it's obfuscated, which would take a long time to deobfuscate. Often with this type of malware, I need to scroll up and down a lot, bounce around, but Notepad++ can make this a bit easier for you with its document map, where you can get a bird's eye view of the document. So to display that, go to View, and then select Document Map. Now I can click around to various points within the code that I want to get to. Often there'll be a lot of code that's getting in the way that I just want to ignore for the time being. In this case, I can select what I don't want to see, right click, and then press Hide Lines. You can now see some green arrows in the sidebar indicating there is hidden text. I can click on those arrows to reveal the hidden text again. Obfuscated VBA code often uses the char function to hide text that will later be executed. The char function takes an ASCII value and returns the string representation of that ASCII value. To save me having to go online to search for an ASCII map each time, I can use the one built into Notepad++. To do that, go to Edit and select Character Panel. Now I can select the char function that has the ASCII value that I want to convert. Then I can look up that value in the ASCII panel, double click on it, and it replaces the char function with the correct character string. I'll do this now for the rest of the characters, and we can now much more clearly see the string that was being obfuscated. There is other obfuscation in here too, which we can clean up quite easily using simple find and replace. To highlight like-for-like variables, you can double-click on the text, right-click, and press Style Token. Then pick a style that you want. And when you're done, you can select the text, right-click, and press Remove Style, and then select the relevant style to remove. During the analysis, I might need to work on two different malware files at once. Instead of flipping between the two files manually, I can actually view them at the same time. On the second file you want to view, right-click the tab and press Move to the other view. Now you can work much more efficiently. In this file we can see some VBA which is trying to create a PowerShell process. The PowerShell is designed to execute the encoded payload, which is base 64 encoded. We already know how to decode this, so select base 64, go to Plugins, Mime Tools, base 64 decode. Here I can see it has decoded, but there are a lot of null characters. That's not a problem, I can remove them using regular expressions. So hit Ctrl F, hit the Replace tab, choose regular expression search mode. In the Find What box, type \x00, which is the regular expression for a null character. Now ensure the Replace box is completely empty. You might need to double click it and hit Delete to ensure that's the case, and hit Replace All. And now I have my decoded text, but it's all on one line. So let's make it easier to read with some more find and replace. We can see each command is separated by a semicolon, so we'll search based on that. Up until now I've said hit Ctrl F and then hit the Replace tab, but you can actually go straight to the Replace tab by hitting Ctrl H. Once done, you can pop the semicolon into the Find What box and put :r\n in the Replace box and hit Replace All. Much better. All that would be left to do now is to do some more find and replaces with some of the obfuscated variables, which would allow me to clearly see what the malware is designed to do. The next thing I might want to do once I understand what the malware does is gather as much intel around the attack and the attacker as possible. But before I get into that, please stick around to the end, because that's where I'm going to show you how you can automate much of what I've shown you already using macros, which is the ultimate productivity feature in Notepad++. Also, if you're finding this video useful, please give the video a like. It will help YouTube recommend it to other people who can benefit just like you. Also, if you have any questions or suggestions on what I've shown you so far, please leave a comment below and I'll answer as soon as I can. Another very important step during any investigation is gathering and utilizing threat intelligence. For this example, I found 3 sources of log4shell indicators of compromise on GitHub, which I've copied and pasted into their own individual files. They're all in CSV format, but they have different fields. I can use Notepad++ to clean them up, extract what I care about, and process it into a format that I can use later on. For example, I might want to search the IOCs in some security tools like Splunk, Carbon Black, but I might also want to put these IOCs into our IMS into a common format so they can correlate. I also might want to generate a report for management regarding my investigation. Let's first look at normalizing the data across the different data sets by extracting what we want out in a common format. I'm going to run through this section a little bit quicker than previous ones because there isn't much new functionality I'm introducing. I'm basically just using the same techniques in different ways. With that said, each of the CSVs have IPs at the beginning of each line. We already know how to extract IPs like this, so I'll do that and paste all the IPs into a new file. I can look at previous searches I've done to save myself from typing it all out again. I'll fast forward through the finding and replacing because you know how to do this already. Now I'm going to extract the domains from the third Intel file using another capture group. It's a dirty solution by using the .*, but it works for now. I can now paste them all into another file for domains. Also want to trim any white space because that will mess up our searching in the tools down the road. Again, you know how to do this. I now want to clean up the domains a little bit. Firstly, I want to get rid of the NAs because they aren't useful. Now I want to trim any white space. So now we'd be in a good place to create some searches for reports. For example, if I wanted to search our firewall for any hits to or from those IPs, I could use find and replace to create a useful search. I might want to report on those domains, but I don't want anyone to be able to click a link that might be generated from it. So we can easily defang them again using find and replace. Easy as that. So, as promised, I'm going to now show you how you can take some of what we've already gone through and turn it into an automated workflow. A common task that an analyst needs to go through is similar to what I've just showed you in the threat intel section. That task can involve finding IOCs, curating them, pulling out the relevant ones to get processed, and then creating some sort of output such as a search query or a report. It would be really nice to be able to do most of that processing with just a few clicks, and with Notepad++ you can, because it has a macro functionality which you can use to record some actions and then replay later on. I'll show you how. Let's take the third GitHub IOC file and create a Splunk query to search for the IOCs in the firewall logs. To do that, I'm going to first copy the text out into a new file for testing. Next, I need to select macro and start recording. Now I just need to perform these functions I'd normally take in the right order. So first I'll extract the IPs. Remove duplicates. Separate them by commas. And add the extra bit of Splunk syntax at the beginning. Next, I need to stop the macro, and then I need to save it by going to Macro, Save Current Recorded Macro, and name it something meaningful. I can now run it against my test text, and it will perform all the actions for me in one go. Easy. Of course, when you run the macro against some text, that text must be in the same format that the text was in when you recorded the macro. And in this case, I could have made it a bit more general by creating a regular expression which would have worked in most cases, but I'll leave that for another day. So to summarize what you've been shown today, with Notepad++, you now know how to customize it to suit your needs and personality, such as changing the theme, wrapping text, disabling clickable links, preventing caching of sessions. You now know how to view hidden characters, find and replace text using regular expressions and extended search mode. You can decode base64 and URL encoding. You can use it to search for text in Google and Wikipedia. You can clean up text by trimming whitespace, add timestamps for analysis timelines, mark lines for deletion using find. You can remove duplicates. You can convert text from Windows to Linux friendly formats and back again. You can look at file summary data. You can hide text to come back to it later. There's an inbuilt ASCII map. You can highlight repeat text across the whole file. And last but not least, you can chain together as many as the above steps as you'd like using macros to automate your workflow. So I hope you've got some value from this, and I wish you all the fun in practicing these techniques in your own workflow. If some or all of this didn't make sense to you, please leave a comment below and I'll see where I can help out. Also, let me know if you've benefited from any of the techniques that you've learned today. Finally, please subscribe if you enjoyed this content. I will be making many more videos aimed at helping aspiring and current cybersecurity professionals level up in their skills, frameworks, platforms, ideas, and pretty much anything to do with cybersecurity. Also, please share this with anyone you think will find this useful, colleagues, friends, family. Ciao for now.